Welcome to Copilots, the podcast where we watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows just don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it that second chance might just sway your mind.
Here we take that chance for you, and let you know our opinion on if a show deserves more than just one shot.
I'm Justice, alongside me is my co-pilot Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this week will be Santa Inc.
Who in the fucking world decided Seth Rogen should be in charge of making a Christmas comedy show?
Seth Rogen decided that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who cast Sarah Silverman as the lead?
Assumedly Sarah Silverman, because both her and Seth Rogen are executive producers on the show.
Jesus Christ. So Santa Inc. is a new Christmas show from 2021.
It's the HBOMax Christmas special series that they have.
And I want to be upfront with you. We only did this show for the metrics. We figured, it's new. It's most optimized for SEO.
Mm-hmm. Like before this, we had plans to watch one of like 6 other different
Dash
shows.
and Lily.
We were talking Dash and Lily or I'll Be Home for Christmas. Both shows that are on Netflix.
And I guarantee are better than this.
Like, I guarantee Dash and Lily is probably very
Hallmarky
and teenage drama-y because it is based off a series by David Levithan.
Oh, yeah. I like that guy. We should watch that.
Yeah. I believe Dash and Lily is based off something by his.
By him?
Something of his is what I meant to say. But yeah. Yeah, that would have been better.
So, this show, episode 1 is entitled, Where the Hell is Brent?
Yes. This show is stylized like a claymation Rankin Bass film, which by this point you should know we've enjoyed. We've mentioned it on several occasions that we like the Rankin Bass Christmas film.
There is nothing more Christmas than a Rankin Bass movie. In sentence. Nothing more Christmas than Rankin Bass.
Yeah, no, impossible. Can't get more Christmas than that.
And nothing more capitalistic and less Christmas, even though Christmas is a capitalistic nightmare, than this show.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the show opens with a claymation thing going on. It's got a kind of jingly Christmas intro.
Yeah, I can't tell if they're kids or elves. I think they're kids because they're not different colored. Because all of the elves, if you noticed in this, have different colored skin than the abnormal. They're purple, they're blue, or green.
Oh, so there's 3 elf colors for sure. There's purple, red, and like a green-blue.
I thought there was a green.
Yeah.
I thought it was purple, blue, and green. I don't remember seeing a red. I might be wrong. I wasn't really.
The driver of the car that Goldie steps on while chasing Junior is red.
Oh yeah, her brother. You right.
So it's Christmas Eve, and an elf lady named Candy
Candy Smalls
is doing final checks on everything for Christmas.
Yeah. She's going through making sure all the presents are right, yelling at people to keep the cats and the dogs separated. That way they don't, kill each other. And then she finds a dead lizard and is like, also replace this dead lizard before insert child name here gets upset.
In South Florida.
I don't care where the fuck the kid is.
I think she actually said Tallahassee. The point being, Florida's a trash state.
Yeah.
I love you, CJ, but Florida's a trash state.
So while she's doing that, we then cut over to see a guy giving a pep talk to reindeer.
And he's handing them old candy bars. Christmas spirit candy bars.
And he's like, it's all realizing you guys are the ones that are going to make this happen. Remember, we need to be faster. We need to get there. We need to get stuff done.
And he also starts the speech by shit-talking every holiday that's not Christmas.
Yeah, which, I'm not against whatever,
I mean, to be fair, what the fuck is May Day? He's not right.
Yeah, exactly.
He's not wrong. Like, what the fuck is May Day? Who celebrates that shit? I can tell you who celebrates that shit. German people.
Yeah.
May Day is, like, an actual holiday.
And then we see a reindeer show up late. He comes across very much like a stuck-up asshole.
He's dressed in a suit when none of the other reindeer ever wear clothes.
Sunglasses, and his nose is blue. And he is Junior, the son of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. So he's an entitled dick.
Yeah.
Then Santa shows up with like a police escort. There's sirens. He's in like
a limo.
A limo styled like the Pope Mobile. It is a limo, but the very back has a glass globe that looks like a snow globe, but it also has Pope Mobile vibes.
Yeah, so he shows up, glorious fanfare, whatnot. He hops on a sleigh, wishes everybody a Merry Christmas. He says something really crass, like have a fucking great Christmas or something like that. I don't remember this shit.
Yeah, and then they take off.
If I didn't take notes, I wouldn't remember any of this show, and it's not because I have a terrible memory.
The show is actively bad, and I don't want to remember it.
There's nothing funny in this show. It's a comedy, and there's nothing funny in this show.
Basically, everything that this show tries to do funny is just by using crude language and cussing, which, as you know, you listen to us, we curse all the fucking time. Look, I just fucking did it twice right there.
You don't need to draw attention to the fact that we curse by cursing more to make a point.
Yes, I do.
Okay, Seth Rogen.
Exactly. You get my joke here.
So Santa takes off to deliver presents to all the boys and girls
Yes.
that are good that are on the good list. And Candy takes control of system operations.
She's running Overwatch on this entire thing.
And then, in New York City, Santa gets attacked by anti-Christmas pigeons. This is never brought up again. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's never explained. But anti-Christmas pigeons. Apparently, they saved all their shit up throughout the entire year so they can shit on the sleigh and try to crash it, I guess.
Not on the sleigh. They shit on the tree at Rockefeller Center. And then they just tag the sleigh with a tag that says, Christmas, brought to you by capitalist greed. And you know what? They're not wrong. So then Candy says she's deploying fighter jets, which come out of the bottom of the sleigh, so they're not very large, whatever, it's fine.
They're toy fighter jets, obviously.
Yeah. And then they drop bread filled with drugs, which are meant to knock out the pigeons. And then she has drones spray paint back over the graffiti. Though mind you, the amount of drugs that exist in that bread is enough to kill the pigeons, but whatever.
Anyways, next morning, Candy is at home, and her brother, a deadbeat that lives at home,
And her mother.
is trying to push his new mixtape on Candy because he makes Christmas rap music.
Yeah.
He's 35, by the way. We get a mention of his age. And also, their mother is the worst kind of stereotype.
Mm-hmm. So it will be mentioned very briefly after this, mentioned henceforth repeatedly throughout the show, that Candy Smalls, despite being an elf working for Santa and running Christmas, is Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
And I know in these two episodes, we never get a conflict about whether that affects, like, how she treats Hanukkah, because she has to be, like, in full break mode running up to Christmas for her job, right? Like, no breaks,
I'd
full
imagine.
on,
Yeah.
down sprint.
I'd imagine.
But, yeah, it's the very classic, you see in television everywhere, Jewish mother harping on her daughter a lot while being overly protective and babying of her male child.
Also, this isn't her mother's house or her brother's house. This is her house.
Mm-hmm.
And they're literally just being deadbeats and mooching off of her.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should also be mentioned that Sarah Silverman has numerous times
complained about how Hollywood has portrayed Jewish people in this
negative
exact manner.
Yep.
But then the show that she and Seth Rogen are working on do the same thing, which the only argument here is, well, because Seth Rogen and Sarah Silverman are both Jewish, that it's fine if they do it. Which I get, to the degree of, like, one of her complaints has been what I have seen quoted as her referring to it as Jew face, which having non-Jewish people play Jewish people.
Yeah.
Which I don't think that's how you should term that, because I would argue blackface is much more problematic, seeing as we've had people of every ethnicity and all kinds of different religions play people of different religions, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a strictly Jewish thing. I do get Jewish people are horribly portrayed most of the time.
Well, like, my
But
issue...
they're still not well portrayed in this show either.
Yeah, my issue is... Okay, so there's definitely an okayness with, like, making fun of yourself. Like,
Yes.
And, like, that's 100% okay. But people that watch the show aren't going to be like, oh, hey, Sarah Silverman's Jewish or Seth Rogen's Jewish. They're going to be, ha, 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 Jewish stereotype, funny. And I should clarify, people that watch this and enjoy this aren't necessarily going to make the connection that it was created by Jewish people.
Yeah. And, you know, even then, generally, like, when you watch something that points fun at someone's own beliefs or their own race or something, within that thing, they also do things that show them in a positive light.
Or undermine the...
undermine the joke. The only thing that this show does to, like, go against this is, in the second episode, instead of being a game called Smash a Sloth, a character's like, maybe we should make it someone that deserves it. Like...
Whack a white supremacist.
Yeah. Congratulations. That's, like, the only joke they make. It doesn't show Jewish people in any particular positive light or undermine these jokes.
Anyways, let's move on. Candy meets up with her friends on the way to work. One of her friends is a gingerbread woman who is a legitimate psycho. Like, just the easiest way to describe it. She's literally a psychopath.
Extreme stereotypes of women in Hollywood as well. Like,
also
Hollywood
extreme like stereotypes of like new mothers. Mm-hmm. And then her other friend is Goldie, a female reindeer who is like, I don't know how to describe her. Like
the standard over-the-top promiscuous friend in, like, female sitcoms.
Oh, I guess that is her character trait.
Mm-hmm.
She's loud.
Samantha from Sex and the City, Blanche from Golden Girls. Those are really my only two things, and they're kind of outdated. It's weird.
Good references, though.
Right?
Yeah, that's Goldie. She's also really upset because even though she trains her ass off every year, she hasn't been called up to sleigh team because she's a woman, and only men get a ride sleigh. We then meet Brent. Well, we already met him earlier. He was the guy giving candy bars to the reindeer, but we get his name. Mm-hmm. He's the successor to Santa, and we find out that he hasn't arrived to the office this morning.
Yes. And so everyone's kind of like, where the fuck is Brent? And then there's this huge meeting called for.
Yeah, Santa calls an all-hands meeting. Also, we find out that he is St. Nicholas the 19th.
Mm-hmm. And it turns out that... So a thing we've heard to mention is when Santa set off, he took Brent with him. So Brent went with Santa on his jaunt around the world to deliver presents, which makes sense because Brent was the successor to Santa Claus. You got to learn on-the-job training, right? In Seattle, apparently, Amazon approached Brent. Apparently, he's separated for...
No, hold on. Before we get to that, Candy shows up to the meeting area. Yeah. And there's a spot for her on stage because she is Brent's second, so she's like...
She is vice executive...
Yeah, she's like...
Chief of operations, I think it was.
She's like the third most powerful person in Santa Incorporated, discounting the board of directors.
It goes board of directors, Santa, Brent, Candy.
Yeah. So she has a seat on stage, and so does Junior, Rudolph's son.
Yeah.
And her and Junior get into an argument because Junior's a piece of shit. And
she's just like, I'd fucking get rid of you if I could. And she's like, but you fucking can't, though. This place can't fucking run without this nose.
And then we find out that in Seattle, Washington, Brent left Santa because Jeff Bezos personally offered him a job at Amazon.
Yes, Amazon poached Brent from Santa. And Santa's pissed.
Yeah. I will say, I don't like anything about the show, but all of the, like, tiny jabs at Jeff Bezos and Amazon...
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They're fine. How would you like your Amazon Prime rib?
Yeah. Or the joke in the second episode about how Brent just knows everything that's fucking going on because Alexa is a spying device, an illegal spying device.
Spy software, yeah. Mm-hmm. So after this meeting about Brent leaving them and there not being a current successor to Santa, that night at the local bar, Candy is bitching about how Brent betrayed them all. And then she's like, though, we do need a new successor. And there's never been a woman Santa Claus. I could be Santa Claus. And she's made fun of by the people there who the people at the bar consist of the bartender, a bar of chocolate that has a bite bitten out of it that's human-sized and is a closeted gay man.
And a polar bear.
And a very misogynistic polar bear.
Yes.
And when she says that she could be Santa Claus, they all make fun of her, and one of them's like, yeah, but what if you fell in love with the sleigh? I don't get the joke.
That is the chocolate bar that does that.
I don't understand that joke.
I don't either.
And the same joke is made later in this episode, and I don't get it. Do women just fall in love with inanimate objects? Is this a thing?
Look, the only thing I get that could be a reference to is a horrible fan fictions of the things that exist for Kino's Wondrous Journey.
I don't know what that is.
It looks like a cool anime I've never watched where this woman is just like, I think she's a parcel delivery person who drives a motorcycle around the fucking ruined world, and it looks kind of cool. Kind of like Shikami or Letter B, however you want to say it. It looks kind of neat. And I just know that shit like that exists for that, and it's weird as fuck.
I don't understand. Anyways, on her way home from the bar, she runs into her grandfather in the park.
I forgot every single part about her grandfather. I did not take notes on the back half of episode 1.
This is still the front half of episode 1.
I took notes on like the first 5 minutes of episode 1. I remember most of it, but not her grandfather.
She runs into her grandfather in the park. Should be mentioned this park is one of those parks where people go trolling for gay hookups because...
It's a cruising spot.
Of course it is.
It's called cruising.
And she's like, aren't you too old to be hooking up with strangers? And he's like, you're never too old for wild gay sex.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay. And she confides in him that she wants to be Santa.
And he's cool with it. He's just like, yeah, that's fine.
He supports her, but like the main thing is like you're gonna have to like do a lot of work because it's been a white man's game for like ever. And then as he leaves, he gets blown away by wind. And he's like, if something ever happens to me, go on my computer and find the file that says taxes and delete it because it's filled with porn.
Yes.
Thank you. And he gets blown away.
And then kind of really the only next important thing is she's still kind of wondering about it and upset, and she runs into Cookie and Goldie.
She doesn't run into them. She goes to Cookie's house.
Does she go to... Oh, she does go to Cookie's house because Cookie bitches at her husband about stuff. Probably not.
Because Goldie keeps calling Candy bitch the entire time, and Candy's like, do you have to call me bitch every single time? And Goldie's like, it's empowering. And Candy's like, yeah, you shouldn't be insulted if I call you bitch. And her husband's like, yeah, it's empowering. I would like to be called bitch more often, too. And then
Cookie tells him to take care of their kid, bitch. And she's like, I was wrong. It's kind of hurtful.
Actually, that's a little bit funny.
Yeah. Also, there's like 2-3 decent jokes throughout this entire series.
2 episodes. We didn't watch the whole series.
I stand by my statement. I don't think it gets funny. I think these are the only jokes that matter.
Yeah. So Candy then tells her friends her thoughts on becoming Santa Claus. They're like, go for it. And Goldie's like, you have to go for it. Because if you're Santa, you can put me on the sleigh team. Yeah, do it. Do it.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care if it's best for you. I want it for me. Go become Santa.
And I think Cookie says something about getting better health care and maternity care and stuff.
Yeah. So they convince her to go talk to Santa right now.
And as she leaves, Cookie looks at Goldie and goes, what if she falls in love with the sleigh? And Goldie goes, I was thinking the exact same thing.
I still don't get it.
Neither do I.
Anybody, please tell me what I'm missing here. Jesus Christ. Anyways, Candy then goes to talk to Santa.
Mrs. Claus opens the door. She looks very haggard and worn out. And is talking about how she's been working on lists and doing a lot of statistics and research and stuff.
And how she can't sleep because she can never sleep.
She has OCD. She can't sleep. She has a lot of stuff to do. She's constantly working. And then Santa interrupts her and basically tells her to leave.
The long and short of it is Santa thinks of himself as a progressive person, even though he's really not. He just, like, the only progressive thing Santa's ever done is name a black man, Brent, to be the successor, to be the first black Santa.
And he did it clearly. He did it entirely just to be progressive.
Just for the PR. And so because of that, he loves the idea of a Jewish woman being his next successor. And that's pretty much the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Although there is a post-credits sting where as Candy is outside of Santa's mansion, her grandfather blows past on the wind again. And he's like, also in that folder is some
homemade sex tapes. But don't delete those. I'm proud of those. Hold a viewing for the family.
Yeah.
And
that's
the end
episode
of it.
1.
What are your thoughts on episode 1 of Santa Inc.? Where the hell is Brent?
So, I honestly, passengers and viewers, listeners, I don't know if you've ever watched a show that's so bad that made you think, maybe I should just stop podcasting.
I have watched a show like that.
But that was this show.
Exactly.
So, I think that pretty much sums it up. I assume if you either haven't watched Santa Inc., or you don't have a podcast, and you have watched Santa Inc., so you never thought to yourself, man, I should just stop podcasting if this is the type of material I'm reviewing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, I mean, I guess it's fine.
Yeah, definitely fine otherwise.
Show is awful. And episode 2 is only worse, which is amazing. It's amazing that episode 2 is worse than this. What did you think of episode 1 though? Wasn't it great?
No, it's fucking horrible. Nothing is enjoyable about the show. I guess besides like 2 jokes I forgot. And even then they're only mildly amusing.
The one where Cookie's husband is like, I would love it if people called me bitch. And then his wife immediately is like, do your job, bitch. He's like, never mind, that's hurtful.
Yeah, that was the best joke.
And
I forgot about it because the rest of that scene is bad.
Yeah.
So I think it's fair to say before on this podcast, we've had some pretty controversial opinions about shows.
Like The Witcher?
Yeah, right? I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. Everyone agrees with us. Almost everyone. It's like a 4% by Google. It has like
Seth Rogen does not agree with us.
Seth Rogen can fuck off, man. It has like a 4% from audience users on like Rotten Tomatoes. I think it has like a 2% or some shit like that from Google users. It's so bad and has been panned since like the trailers for the show came out, apparently. That Seth Rogen has just been like upset at everyone about this because people dislike the show. And you know what? Yeah, people should dislike the show. Don't watch this. It's not good. It's not amusing. There's no really good jokes. The entirety of the humor, like I said, just relies upon cussing and then having that be funny. The equivalent of the 13-year-old mindset of being like, if I just yell penis really loud, it'll be the most funny thing ever.
Yeah, but I think Seth Rogen is a guy who thinks that is funny.
Yeah, that's definitely what I think after seeing this.
You know,
like before from some of his films, I thought maybe he has like a bit of like good wit. Like there's a few decent jokes from like Pineapple Express, shit like that. Green Hornet has a few. This though, no.
You know, I was just scrolling through all the episodes we've ever done because I did get in an argument with you about this being the worst show we've ever watched.
No, it is definitely the worst show.
Like the only things potentially worse than this are Kiss Sis and Star Wars.
Kiss Sis, if I actively ignore the incest, is just a not great rom-com, like very mediocre bottom tier. The incest is just what makes it unwatchable. If I ignore the parts of this that I don't like I would have to do in Kiss Sis, there's nothing happening in this. There's literally nothing.
The only other things that even come close are like It's Bruno,
which was just boring. It wasn't offensive, it was just boring.
Or Pilot Candidate.
That was just badly told.
Yeah, so I legitimately think this is the worst show we've ever watched. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. And let's do episode 2 now.
Faces of Meth.
You heard him right. This episode is entitled Faces of Meth. Oh, so the episode starts with a New Year's Eve countdown. Candy's in a bar, not with her friends, making New Year's resolutions with a bunch of strangers. There is a man who's like, you know what my New Year's resolution is? It's to feel those nice elf titties of yours. And she's like, you know,
See if they're as pointy as your ears.
you know, normally I'd be offended by that, but you're just proving my point that we need a woman Santa Claus to instate systematic change in the North Pole. And he's like, oh, cool, so I can... And he reaches out to grab her tits, and she punches him out.
Yeah.
That's this entire scene. Then we get the OP again, where it's like a zoom through a like snowy North Pole
Jingling,
scene.
jangling, a bit of whistling, and then
we open on Santa, who is getting a blowjob from Mrs. Claus.
all while repeatedly talking out loud about how great he is and how progressive he is. Like, he chose the first black successor for Santa, and now he's debating choosing a Jewish woman for his successor, and, like, it's bad.
He makes a terrible joke here. I don't remember what the joke is. It's not like terribly offensive. It's just like...
A bad joke.
Terrible is, and it's literally not funny. And he gets upset because Mrs. Claus doesn't laugh at it. You know, because she literally has his dick in her mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what, you didn't think it was funny? And she's like, no, I was just a little busy. And he's like, you could have at least laughed or something. And, you know, I think this is the exact type of thing Seth Rogen does in his real life.
Yeah, that sounds right. Like, some self-aggrandizing, a slight joke about how great he is, and then being upset when people don't either A, recognize that the self-aggrandizing is correct because he is fantastic, and that B, that joke was fucking hilarious because, like I said...
Oh, no, I think he's that type of guy that, like, talks himself up during sex, makes a joke that he thinks is funny, and then gets mad because somebody doesn't laugh at it because they're literally in the middle of sucking on his dick.
I literally just said all that, but with fancier words.
You didn't mention the sex part.
Yes, I did.
I think this is legitimately a thing he does.
Yeah, I mentioned the sex part in there at the very beginning.
Sure. Anyways, we cut to the workshop where we find out that the North Pole University interns are here for their first day.
Yes.
Candy gives them a speech about how Brent discovered her in gift wrapping, so on and so forth. It's going to be a giant step for you guys today. Here's my shoe. Ha, giant step. You get it?
Because my feet are tiny because I'm an elf. They're not actually a giant step. Ha, 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 ha. I'm hilarious.
Santa shows up, catches the tail end of the speech, and is like, you were great. You're such a great entertainer. Your improv is fantastic.
Except he doesn't say any of that to her yet. He's just talking to Jingle Jim.
She then meets her intern, very tall, very fat man named Devin Johnson, and...
who is apparently related to Hermie from, or implied to be related to Hermie from the Rankin Bass.
Oh yeah,
Rudolph.
That's something we haven't touched on. This show ostensibly presents itself as a sequel to the Rankin Bass universe.
Yeah, this episode is the one that particularly does it because he mentions that his uncle is a dentist and that he is an elf.
No,
I refuse. This isn't part of it. I get that Rankin Bass fucked up their Rudolph copyright, and so lots of people can use their shit.
This is me.
No, Seth Rogen. No.
This is me directly talking to you, Seth Rogen, and you, Sarah Silverman. No. You don't get to decide that your show connects to the greatest thing ever made for Christmas. You don't get to. No. Rankin Bass it's almost the holy grail of holiday movies.
Yeah, their later stuff isn't great, but their original stuff is fantastic, and you don't get to ruin it.
Yeah. You don't get to make really shitty critiques of corporate America under the guise of a Santa show with zero comedic value and act like it's a sequel to Rankin Bass.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just really... The show is so bad at watching it and critiquing it legitimately pisses me off.
Mm-hmm. Like, it was the first episode, right? Where there's that entire shitty secret room where Santa's having, like, a shaving party?
Yes.
That is literally just meant to be a secret men's club, but the entire premise of what they do in their club is dumb as fuck?
Yes.
Like, that's clearly meant to be a critique about how corporations are all a giant boys club. Entirely correct. Could have been done in so many better ways. It was just a dumb scene.
Yes. The show has active, valid criticisms of the corporate structure of America and of capitalism.
It just does them poorly. Like, I support the criticism and everything they say that is wrong with fucking capitalism. Entirely correct.
I just think the means of providing that message is god-tier awful.
Look, I think when the majority of your characters then rely on stereotypes that you actively criticized outside of your show, but then don't show in a critical critique in your show, I get that could be meant to be satire, but when you don't portray it well, it doesn't come across that way. Like, everything about Cookie's character is just bad.
I think it's really important to remember that Seth Rogen was one of the people behind Sausage Party, and that's why he makes things like this. Because he thinks he's this massive, brilliant critic of society. And while he has opinions I agree with, wholeheartedly agree with, he's terrible at, like...
Putting it into a film, putting it into words, putting it into a cohesive story and, like, tangible argument.
Yeah. Yeah, anyways, let's stop talking about how bad Seth Rogen is as a director and writer and
As
whatever
a creative
else.
talent.
And so Candy meets Devin Johnson, who, like you said, vaguely implied to be related to Hermie. He does have a traditional, like, Dutch boy haircut. Mm-hmm. And he's super excited and super kiss-ass and,
He seems to be only really super excited about everyone in the company that's higher up besides her, which I think is meant to be a critique of, obviously, the fact that only the men appear to, like, be outward faces of the company.
That's a very good point. I hadn't thought about that because they're going to go meet Tim, the head of toys.
Who he put the bee in Furby and decided that this doll should be of the patch of cabbage. The phrasing is bad. The joke is that this guy made all these hit toys. When we get there, he talks in a dull, boring drone.
He reminds me of the dude from the eye drop commercial.
I'm trying to particularly remember who he reminds me of. The father from, like, the American Pie series.
I think that's the dude from the eye drop commercial.
I think so. He's also had a recent commercial for Carfax where he shows up at his daughter's house early in the morning to check for cars.
Ben Stein, that's his name.
Yeah, Ben Stein. Ben Stein is a great actor.
Yeah. So he reminds me of Ben Stein. He also apparently invented whack-a-mole. And while we're in his office, he's showing Candy this new toy, this new game he invented, because he met a mole while he was in the hospital after he, like, hurt his hand, and the mole was like, hey, that game you made has, like, done really shitty things for moles because people chase us and try to hit us with hammers in real life now. I mean, I think it's a critique on, like, how harmful media can be, I guess.
How harmful media can be to certain individuals and peoples?
Yeah. I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen a person try to hit a mole with a hammer in real life. Or even heard of somebody trying that outside of somebody very, 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 very drunk.
Yeah. So then he proposes Smash the Sloth, then...
Which, honestly, no. Fuck you. Fuck you right now. Moles, those are a pest. They destroy land. They fuck with water lines and eat phone cables and TV cables. Like, they're a fucking pest. Sloths? What did a sloth ever do to you? It hangs out in trees and grows moss. Why would you want to, like, make a game that encourages going and, like, beating sloths, an animal that is mostly purely defenseless just because of the way it's evolved to do literally nothing? They're literally the least offensive animal in the world. They can't do things. Also, they're adorable.
So, Candy's intern points out that would just be causing the same problem with sloths.
They'd just be moving the harm from moles to sloths.
So he suggests whack a white supremacist.
Yeah, why don't we make the game about hitting somebody that deserves to be hit?
Yeah.
Like white supremacists.
And then Candy's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Gets a text from Santa. She freaks out and goes to meet him and tells
Tim
Ted
and Devin to start working on the Devin angle on the idea.
So then when she goes to talk to Santa, this is where Santa's just like, that speech you gave earlier was fucking great. I think you fucking got this. And do you know why I think you got this? Because you're in contention to be the successor. And the fact that I'm considering you a successor because you're a woman and you're Jewish looks fucking great for me to the board. Literally talks about optics here and about how great the optics are. And he's like, Sarah Silverman's character, Candy, is just like, oh yeah, I love the optics. The optics look great. We should definitely do this.
And then the whole meeting essentially boils down to him being like, you're not the successor yet, but I want you to give the State of the Workshop address tonight, the one Brent was supposed to give, and like that'll kind of introduce you to the board and like put you in the discussion to be the successor.
Yeah. Just do everything Brent did and you'll be great.
And also, so as she leaves, Santa like yells at her about how this is her only chance, and if she fucks it up, she'll be done forever.
Yeah, and then he's just like, I was just joking, you should have seen your face.
Also, he plays ukulele like a douche bro.
Mm-hmm. He also has a snow globe with a living snowman in it.
Who
begs for release and freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, we then follow Candy back to her office, where her snowflake assistant, who we've met before, who is not, that's not me insulting him. He's literally a snowflake. Mm-hmm. His name is Jeremy.
We saw him before in the first episode.
Yeah.
He didn't really do much. He was just like, I don't want to work. And he knows a bunch of other snowflakes.
Yeah, and she's like, can you cancel my lunch with my friends? I have to work on the speech. And then she decides to watch Brent's old like videos of his State of the Workshop speeches, which basically amount to he comes out to a like dance beat song, shoots off glitter bombs, hands out swag, and goes, next year will be the best Christmas ever, and then leaves.
Yeah. And she's like, can I do that? And her assistant's just like, no, that requires charisma like Brent have and I have. You don't have that. So then she freaks out.
Obviously, he says, no, that requires charisma, like Santa or Brent or me. Basically, what he's saying is that requires a penis, because that's the whole undertone of this show.
Yeah, so she freaks out and asks them to go get her, like, guac and chips
yep.
so she can stress eat. They leave to do that. Brent calls and
He's like, yeah, so I heard you were giving the State of the Workshop address tonight.
And that you're in the running to be Santa's successor.
And she's like, how? Is Alexa a spy device?
And he just sidesteps that and is like, so I think you've got this. Just do everything I did and you'll be great.
And the whole time he's talking to her, there's a drone flying around him being like, how would you like your Amazon Prime rib?
Yeah.
Get it? Because in Amazon, everything is Prime. Prime rib, Prime gaming, Prime video. Ha, 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 ha.
Prime shipping.
Funny. It's funny.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely hilarious.
I did think the Prime rib joke was a tiny, actually, bit funny.
Yeah. So then they show back up, and the snowflake guy, whose name I legitimately cannot remember, he's like, fuck.
Jeremy. His name is
Jeremy. He's like, fuck. She's happy, which means I have to do actual work.
A happy candy means more work. Anyways, so this is actually where I see him into Devin as a kiss ass, because like she's like practicing for giving Brent's speech, essentially, where he rides a mini pony onto stage.
They're packing swag bags and everything, and she's just like, hey Jeremy, I need you to pretend to be the mini pony again one more time. And he's just like,
and Devin's like,
fuck that.
I'll be the pony. I'm just so glad to be here. I'm so glad to be working with all of you. Yeah, I don't even deserve any of this. That's where I see him into him as a kiss.
Oh yeah, no. I think you're right. I was just like, when he was first introduced, he was very focused on all the male individuals of the company.
So then Goldie like kicks open the office door. Remember, Goldie's her reindeer friend.
Mm-hmm. And she's like, guess who fucked Donner last night?
And she has an entire box of Christmas spirit bars. And it goes from being like, oh yeah, look how great I am. And Candy's like, didn't we cancel our lunch? And she's like, oh, this is my favorite song. And Candy's like...
After hitting on the intern for a bit.
Yeah, then Candy's like, there's no song playing. So Goldie and Candy go for a walk outside. And Goldie complaining about how the sleigh team gets everything, including a month-long spa retreat in January after Christmas.
Yeah, she goes from being hyper excited and sexual at the moment to just being immediately depressed and upset and angry. And Candy's just like, what's with these wild mood swings?
And then they run into Junior, literally run into Junior.
Well, Junior runs into them. Really.
And his lunch spills everywhere. And he says a bunch of racist, sexist things to Candy.
Mm-hmm. And then to Goldie when Goldie tries to defend Candy.
And then Goldie and Junior get in a fight. And then they get separated by Candy and Cookie, who show up. And then...
they chase each other across the city.
Yeah.
Well...
Junior runs away, and Goldie...
chases after.
And Candy and Cookie are holding on to Goldie's back. Mm-hmm. And they chase each other through the city. They fly. There's honestly a guitar rock track playing underneath this that is way too cool for this show.
Agreed.
And then...
he disappears in an alley.
Yep. And they find a fake Christmas tree in this alley. And Cookie and Goldie get into a fight.
Yeah, because Cookie's like, you need to step out of this. Slaps her. Goldie's like, what the fuck? Fights back. Ends up bucking her into the tree. And she disappears into the tree.
Yep. And then Cookie yells up out of the tree, hey, you guys should come down here. Goldie recharges the tree, dives down there. And then Candy's like, I don't have time for this. I have to get ready for a speech. I have to get the sweater sized for me because I haven't...
yeah.
Anyways, she goes down the tree chute as well.
And it looks like a rundown hospital.
Yeah, they find themselves in a rehab, like, asylum thing.
Yeah.
Where we find the sleigh team all locked away in individual cells.
Mm-hmm. We see Dasher?
I don't remember.
I think hopping around in a stocking, talking about... he'll go down in history. I'll go down in history. And like, Jesus.
And then there's another reindeer wrapped in Christmas lights talking about how best to scramble eggs.
Mm-hmm. And there was the first room they looked in had like reindeer skulls and jars of formaldehyde and blood and stuff. That one is never explained.
Never explained. And then the third room they look in, there is a reindeer crawling on the ceiling, exorcism reference where he spits like vomit on them.
He projectile vomits onto Candy, and Candy's like, hey Cookie, do you have a wet wipe? And Cookie's like, no, because I'm a sloppy drunk and a new...
No, she's like, you would think so, with having a newborn baby and drinking red wine all the time. The truth is, I'm a terrible mother and a sloppy drunk.
Mm-hmm. And she starts to cry about it. Also, before this, there was a scene where Candy was freaking out, and Cookie yells at her because Cookie's the one that has to be dramatic and stuff. It's her only character trait.
Yeah. So, we then find Junior and a bunch of the other reindeers having group therapy because this is rehab, because it turns out the Christmas spirit bars are like 99% meth with a little bit of chocolate.
Yeah.
And that's why Goldie's been having mood swings, is because she ate a meth bar.
Yes. So, like, we briefly cut to the people getting ready for the workshop speech.
State of the workshop.
Yeah. And they're just like, where the fuck is...
Devin and Jeremy are prepping.
And they're just like, where the fuck is she? And they're just like, we don't know. So then we go back to the rehab asylum spot. And they've been captured by some polar bears and thrown in a room.
Polar bear orderlies.
Mm-hmm. And then the psychiatrist.
Yeah, the head doctor for the asylum rehab thing.
Shows up and he's just like, oh, I expected it was only a matter of time since you're in charge of day-to-day stuff now that you would know that the spirit of Christmas bars were meth. And she's just like, what? He's like,
how much of a shock did it come to you when you found out the spirit of Christmas bars were meth?
I know I found it really shocking.
And she's like, what? He's like, oh, you didn't know.
So then he explains that Brent has been doing this for like a decade plus, because how the fuck do you think he's been so efficient about each year them getting more and more things done quickly?
There is a tiny joke here that would have been funny if presented in a different way, where Candy's like having this realization about the type of person Brent was, and she's like, he did have a minute of efficiency calendar, and it was just 12 pictures of him, that's a funny joke. He's like, how more efficient can a calendar shoot get than just being one person?
Yeah. The best part would have been if all of the pictures were the exact same picture.
Yeah. Yep.
Also, apparently, we learned in the first episode that Brent's so conceited and up his own ass because, according to Santa at least, because one year for Halloween, he went as Super Jesus.
Yep. So, the doctor keeps Goldie in the asylum rehab to let the meth wear off and lets the other two go. Candy shows up late for the State of the Workshop speech.
And
Devin then has this completely unearned moment where he's like, thank you so much. I don't deserve you. You've been so good to me. I know you'll do great at this speech.
You're such a good person. You're so great.
And it's an insanely undeserved moment.
Yeah, so then she's just like, oh, I guess I don't want to be like Brent, so I'm not going to do the speech his way. And
then instead she gives a boring speech about how to make the workshop more efficient and make Christmas more efficient. And as everybody falls asleep to her speech because it's boring, she panics, runs backstage and is like, hey, Jeremy, Devin, give everybody some Christmas spirit bar.
Not all of it, but like a tiny bit. That'll be fine.
So she gives everybody meth because she doesn't want to be like Brent.
When there was nothing technically wrong with Brent's speech. Yeah, it was shit, but like, whatever.
So then a board member who is now high on meth yells at her, where's my swag bag at? And she goes, they're too crass and materialistic. We're not doing them this year. And he's like, that's Christmas. It's crass and materialistic.
And then people start tossing slurs at her, both sexist slurs and racist slurs, really racist slurs being
And Jeremy the snowflake is like, oh no, she's dying out there. I gotta do something. And falls out of the rafters. Somebody yells, somebody has a gun.
Everyone freaks out and screams, and they run out.
Yes.
So then we see Candy walking out, and then Santa falls up behind her, and he's just like, what the fuck was that?
He essentially yells the same thing from his meeting with her earlier at her, except he's being serious this time, even though he was probably serious last time.
Yeah, and as he's doing that, Mrs. Claus comes out. Mrs. Claus is just like, your speech was great. It had actual valid points. You actually talked about things that were important, unlike Brent, who just felt like a fucking circus. And as Candy's like, you make a lot of good points, and I really want to talk to you more about this. Santa cuts them both off, and she's like, let's fucking go, and basically drags his wife away.
And then Candy's like sad and she's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Cookie shows up, and she's like, of course you know what you're going to do. You're going to go get drunk and do karaoke, because that's who the fuck you are. Let's go.
And that's how we end the episode. She sings a song karaoke, and people cheer and applause.
She sings Rise Like a Phoenix. I don't remember who that's by, but it's terrible. The show's terrible. God damn it, the show is awful. That's my final verdict on these two episodes. Please don't watch this. Don't.
Yeah, it's not good. Like, clearly there are themes here about how general corporations are fueled by toxic masculinity and all that.
And sexist, and how, like, in order to get ahead in life, you have to, like, do dirty shit and, like, be a terrible person.
Especially in corporations, like, to do so, you have to do that.
All the messaging within the show,
I get behind, but it does it so fucking poorly. Like, the bit with Cookie talking about how the only things she has as traits are being...
Hold on. I think the show is Candy's speech, because it's all, like, factually correct things that matter, but so boring and, like...
And poorly put together that it's just bad?
Yeah.
Like, literally the part with Cookie...
Is that a meta joke? Did Rogen and Silverman do that on purpose?
No, they didn't do that on purpose.
Okay.
Like, there's the part where Cookie's talking about how her only traits are being dramatic and whiny. And then Candy calls out, well, that's kind of fucked up. But it's one of those instances where just because you call yourself out on something doesn't mean you're suddenly witty and it's funny. You have to do it well, and they don't. Expositing everywhere.
No, you don't get a buy just because you lampshade it.
Yeah, literally, the points of this show where it makes good commentary on toxic masculinity or something, anytime that it's vaguely good, they immediately lampshade it and do it poorly, so I'm like, oh, that was mildly okay, and now you've just ruined it.
Anyways, more importantly than any of this show Spotify now lets you rate and review podcasts. So, if you enjoy our podcast, leave us a 5-star review on Spotify.
Or iTunes, or wherever you listen to podcasts at.
And we'll definitely read those out if we get them. However, if you want to contact us directly and maybe explain what the fuck they're talking about when they say she might fall in love with the sleigh, you can reach us at copilotsreview@gmail.com.
Or you can tweet us at copilotsreview.
Or you can find all of that information as well as a link to our Discord.
And our YouTube.
Where we'll be streaming a special viewing of our Christmas movie later this week.
On the Discord, not the YouTube. YouTube doesn't like when you stream movies.
On our website at copilotsreview.simplecast.com. I want to thank everybody for flying. Have a happy holidays. And please fly again soon. Like, I know we could have just kept going and like shitting on this show.
But I don't even want to do that because it's that bad.
Yeah, like, there's only so much fun you can have shitting on stuff. Like, shitting on Tattoo Teenage Alien Fighters
Was fun because, like, while empirically bad, it was amusingly bad.
Or like shitting on Kiss Sis because of the incest. Or like shitting on G.I. Joe because it's a blatant cash grab. And,
like all these shows at least had slight redeeming thing.
They're fun to shit on because like they had elements that were fun. This show was just bad.
Yeah, so bad.